So now, when we left off from part 4 going into part 5 now, we're finally out of the mansion for the first time. So, Thursday, July 25th, 2019, the next day I'm trying to get all this stuff uploaded here again. Again, with the courtyard, it's going to be pretty concise, so I didn't have to do too many cuts here. But from the very beginning, after we grabbed our stuff from the item box, I just cut down a little bit of the box pushing, but you want to get that set aside. If you do not push the box and the little hole there to get across, you will get grabbed by some kind of plant object, and you will see that going forward, that we're going to have to take that out. So in the subsequent red double doors, there's a giant spider. You have your assault shotgun and your handgun. You should have plenty of bullets and stuff like that by now. So go ahead and take that stuff out and grab some of these items in this room. Now, the main thing of note is the silhouettes, the little lamps that are there. Once you light those with the lighter, again, having the lighter in the inventory is very important. There will be a pool table with some billiard balls and some little lanyards to light. And once you light those, it gives you some kind of clue. You might not be able to know what that is right now. It's not important to know what it is right now, but it's just the color of the orange, green, and red balls, and the little silhouette icon that it corresponds to will open a door later, and you will see that a little later in the sequence. But when you've grabbed all the items and you've gotten all the other stuff lit, you can pretty much get out of there. So here is where the billiard table will be. You can check that out, and there's also a light in here to grab, and that is the last 3 of 3 in here. There is 2 spiders in this room. You probably won't even have to bother with the second one. You just want to kill the one as soon as you enter the doorway, the giant spider that's on the red double doors. So once you've collected everything, it's time to jump across the box coverage that you've made. Again, don't go across any of those holes. You're going to take damage. So just jump across some of this stuff, and then I'm going to break for a second here for a cutscene upcoming.
No, that wasn't part of our deal.
Like I said,
but it's not necessary to destroy stars.
don't be a hard dog. Much better.
What about my family? If I play my cards right. Jill.
Barry, I heard someone talking.
Oh, you heard. I think age is starting to take its toll. Talking to myself is becoming a bad habit.
Talking to yourself? You all right? What's gotten into you?
I'm getting you worried, aren't I? But don't, I'm alright. I guess this creepy mansion has gotten to my nerves. Anyway, I think I'll go outside, get some fresh air for a change. Don't worry, I'm just going to get some fresh air. If I'm lucky, I'll get to waste some monsters along the way.
So you get the little inkling there that Barry Burton's being set up a little bit by stars, and possibly Wesker, if you haven't already figured that out at this point. So now that you're going through in these little residences, you should get the corresponding keys from the rooms, and sometimes you will find something in the bathtubs once you empty out the water. So that's basically what you're going to be doing here. You're just going to be cutting through a few of the residence doorways, getting some keys, going down into the control room, and you will have a couple surprises waiting for you, but not too much to deal with as far as backtracking. nowhere near as big as the mansion. So you should be able to get this done pretty much relatively quickly. Yeah, I've done a little bit of cuts as far as some of the unnecessary movement and things that you don't need to see, and I will point that stuff out as long as we're going here, but pretty short sequence. Now, what I wanted to mention from part 4, getting out of the mansion the first time into now, when you first meet Lisa Trevor and when you first get into the residence, if you haven't done so already, it's probably a good time to save, because you've made considerable advancements from getting out of the mansion for the first time, and you probably don't want to have to redo all of your progress once again. So if you feel comfortable now saving from your first time through a normal playthrough, it's probably a good time to do so. In this room here, as you can see, I still have the fuel canteen and lighter in hand. It pays to, again, even though this is a smaller area, you don't want to have to deal with other zombies and things coming across. So once you empty out this bathtub, you are going to get the control room key, and that will take you right back to where you just were with, pushing the little bookshelves and things away, and it takes you right down into the Aqua Ring. There's also a item in this version of the Resident Evil remake that you can get, although it only has one bullet in it. The apparent suicide note and things that you're going to see, there is a self-defense gun that has only one bullet in it. But it's kind of like a Magnum, and I believe it's the most powerful weapon in the entire game, even though there's only one bullet. So you can save it for particularly powerful enemies later in the game, or you can use it whenever you feel like. But I wouldn't just waste the bullet, I would use it on something. It's very, very, very strong. Again, if you want to read some of this stuff all the way through, you can slow it down a little bit. So we're going to grab the rest of the items in this room. They got some handgun bullets and some other things for you. Once you do all that, you want to make your way back to room numero dos. So now that we've done that, we pushed the bookshelves and things out of the way, go down into the Aqua Ring, and there will be some boxes for you to push to create a pathway to go across the water. I will push one of these boxes, and then I will proceed to cut to all of them so you can go across the pathway, because otherwise you're going to have to be watching stuff that you don't need to see here. I try to do my best to keep this thing under 25 minutes as much as possible, but this is the entire walkthrough of the courtyard, so it's pretty concise, and you should be able to get all that stuff in here without missing anything, so I feel pretty good about that. So be very careful in this spot. You're not really going to need any weapons because you can't really do much here, but it's going to be full of water, and there's going to be tons of sharks and things waiting for you. So once you've got to the cutscene, immediately you don't even have to have any weapons equipped, so you can get more speed on running. Just book it as fast as you can to the control room. You're just going to follow the pathway all the way down. Don't even worry about those sharks or the music that's playing. So thankfully that will be the last time in this part of the room that you will need to go there where the sharks can actually attack you. Now, this is a little bit of a rework compared to the original release and the DS release of Resident Evil. This is more of a puzzle rather than a boss fight or anything else, because these sections have been completely redone. The graphics and everything else, the water, it looks absolutely awesome to see this stuff down here, but there's going to be some oil pressure release that you have to, get to and release before you can actually get rid of the water. If you don't do that, the shark will bust through and take you out, and it will be an instant game over. So you see the oil valves there, that's something to note. And then when you go down here, there's a couple of doors and stuff. We don't need to access that yet, but it's got some magnum rounds and some shotgun shells and things you can get. You see the shark swimming through along the waterways there. So depending on the game you play, even if you play this multiple times, sometimes the oil valve that you need to change will change numbers. So make sure you check by the Aqua Ring map to tell you which valve to close. So the critical pressure sequence will go up and up and up, and when it gets to 100 you will get game over, but all the panels and things that you need to access will be right next to you. So kind of stay calm and keep your wits about you. Just check the things that are close to you. Eventually you will get to it, but when you get to the oil pressure sequence, make sure you use the correct number of valve, otherwise you're gonna have to start all over, and that could give you a game over.
Reaching 30% of pressure threshold.
Depending on the difficulty that you play through, this sequence will speed up. So if you're playing on hard, very hard, stuff like that, this can be very, very deadly. You have to complete this on a very strict timetable. Usually when I'm doing this, I get to about 50 or 70%. Usually a decent amount of time passes, but not enough to kill you. So now with the shutters closed, you can drain the water, and that will effectively kill this rework. Kind of a boss fight turned into a puzzle. It was kind of cool to be able to do that. So now with the water drained, we want to make our way down to that door that you saw briefly that I didn't go into. This is where the basement of the Aqua Ring is going to be, so to speak. So this is where you can get your shotgun shells right here. Going through the next door will get you some magnum rounds. The reason why you have to do this is because since the water is drained, where you just put those 3 boxes to get across, you can't go back that way anymore. So you have to kind of use this as a workaround to get back to the beginning of the courtyard. There will be some sharks here. They'll flop around a little bit because they don't have any water or anything else. If you put one bullet in them or stab them with a knife, you can effectively end that. So don't take any unnecessary damage, just one bullet will do. I think all this stuff is pretty well done, to be honest with you. Like I said, they're all completely reworked sections, rebuilt sections, brand new sections to the remake. And I think this might be my favorite sequence in the entire game, the Aqua Ring. I really do like it. So there's the gallery key right there. That's going to take you right back to around room number 2 and all of that. You're just going to go right in the middle of that hallway. And that's what we're going to do right now. First, to be able to get to it, though, we want to go back up that ladder to create the shortcut. Because if you're not doing that, if you're not going through this door, it's pretty much, a no-go to get back to the area where you were. Like I said, the water's been drained and you can't use it. Magnum rounds right there for you. Don't forget, if you haven't used any of that stuff right there, I believe that's the first pickup of Magnum rounds in the game so far. Very precious ammo, very powerful gun, the Magnum Colt Python. Keep it for as late as the game as you can. So there you go. Now you have the workaround, so you're able to go back down here when you need to again, because there will be one more time we're going to go down here and visit the area, because we got to take care of something else that's in the courtyard. So once this cuts, I will meet you right back into the gallery, and we are going to use that key. So there you go, just in and out right there. You're right where you need to be with the gallery. One thing of note in this room, there are some handgun bullets and a couple other things that you can get. There are bees that will immediately attack you and buzz around. You need the insecticide spray. You can get the insecticide spray in this room. And there's also a number 3 door in there. You can just loop right around, try to get around the bees if you can. Grab the spray. And then right where the map was, right where room 2 was, there's going to be a hole. There's a map there, and then once you remove the map, there's a hole. I haven't went to inspect it at this point in the game for a good reason, because as soon as you take the map out of the hole, the bees will come and attack you anyway. So that's something to note. If you've ran through the game already, you can save yourself some trouble. So right there, you can already see by room number 2 was a glowing map pickup. Once you pick that up, just spray the insecticide in there, and it will effectively kill any bees that are chasing you. So now pretty much you're just going to go ahead and pick up the next key and get to the next area. This is going to be room number 3, and we're already going to be done for the most part with this courtyard. So very, very quick area to explore. You don't want to be like that guy with the paint all over his face. That's not a good way to go. So in this room, you're going to need the red book to complete a small puzzle with the shelves. But once that door opens from the red book, do not proceed to go through the door, because you will be stuck in a boss fight. It's considerably easier if you create the V-Jolt to kill the plant, and that's what we're going to do right now. The way that you get into that door is right where the bees just were. There was a door that I have not checked yet with a keypad. The keypad is tied to the billiard balls and the colors from the silhouette lamps that we talked about earlier. I'm going to go ahead and go through and do that once this room is all cleared out. So this is your host, John Ott, for Resident Evil Part 5, getting from out of the mansion into the courtyard for the first time. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate, feel free to ask, and if I see that stuff, I'm not anticipating too many comments, but I will try to get through it as quickly as possible and get back to you. So the code will not change depending on the game you play, so you can go ahead and see what was there and get right in. If you're playing as Chris, you're going to need Rebecca to do this for you, because Chris doesn't know how to mix the chemicals, even though it's pretty much an easy, math. Right there, all it is just plus. But apparently Chris doesn't know how to read that stuff. And Chris can't also play the piano that's in the mansion. You need Rebecca to play the Moonlight Sonata. So there's a couple things that Jill has on hand. So obviously she can't take as much damage, but when you got more item spaces, you got a whole new weapon of use to you, you have Barry's help, you don't need other people's help in the sense of that. It's just the first time through, I'd recommend playing as Jill. I think it's an easier playthrough. So what you're going to see is that little equation that's on the wall. The only thing that might trip you up here is you're going to probably wonder what 1 is in the equation. 1 is just water. 1 is just the base. So when you combine that, that's how you get 1. So you have UMB3, yellow 6. Those are your two chemicals. You're pretty much just going to combine water, UMB3 and yellow 6 in order to get to 20, which is the V-Jolt. If you make a mistake and you mix something wrong and you don't follow the equation, you will be immediately poisoned and you will have to exit the room. I believe you will be poisoned and have to use a green and blue herb to get rid of the status. I'm not sure if that's changed, but if you do something wrong, you have to leave the room because you will die. But this should be pretty self-explanatory. So now you just have 17 and 3, and that gives you 20. So just mix the 17 with the 3 there, and you will have V-Jolt. So what you're going to need to do now, once you have this new solution here, you're going to... This is what I did. I just did the quick little puzzle here with the red book. You just want to follow the picture, you know, from legs to face of this girl being attacked by Neptune, the shark here, and it will unlock the door for you. You don't want to go in this door yet. What we're going to need to do with the V-Jolt after this puzzle is completed, go back down by where the control room key was, where you first got attacked by those sharks. You want to go back down around there. If you cut a little bit to the right, there will be a small door, and all that room is for is using the V-Jolt on the plant. And that's what we're going to do right now. So we're right back here in the Aqua Ring. There will be a couple sharks that were attacking you. If you want to go ahead and get your quick revenge in there, just pop a cap in them and they'll be out. And right to the right there, as you see in that loop, you go in this room with the V-Jolt in hand, and that's all you need to do. I'm going to cut from the commentary here from a cutscene, and we'll be back pretty much from part 6. I'll stop and talk to you just before this ends just to get you set up here.
What the hell is this thing?
Barry!
Jill!
I thought it was finished.
Yeah.
That was close. Thanks again.
Don't mention it. But what was that? What the hell's going on in this place?
Barry.
Something about that mansion still bothers me. But I think I'll stay here a little longer. We should split up again and investigate.
All right.
So with the helmet key in tow, there's going to be quickly one more cutscene, and I won't get in the way of that. Just make sure you go back to the item box, get everything you need, heal up, get your ammo, get your assault shotgun, get ready to use the helmet key, and the next part of the mansion, and that's where we'll meet up in part 6. Have a good one, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Wesker.
Jill, so you're safe.
That's what I was going to say.
I apologize. It was all I could do to protect myself against those strange creatures.
I understand. Anyway, it's good that you're safe.
Did you notice? Barry, he sounded a little flaky.
Now that you mention it, yeah. I'll keep a close eye.
Maybe it's quite natural under these circumstances. It's not really our standard operation. Jill, our first priority is to get out of here.
I agree.
There are still rooms in that mansion we can't get into because they're locked up. I've been looking for ways to...
Okay, if there's anything, I'll go back to the other mansion.
I'm counting on you.